Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Student Achievement Showcase. I won't take up much of your time, but I did want to introduce my student, Taylor Cinelli, who I've had this entire year in this very difficult online year, but she was a shining star from the get-go, from the very first paper I read of hers, which was open and honest and moving about her own personal challenges and struggles. Then I have her again now for English 122, which is research writing. And I just found her research to be stellar and full of depth and full of passion. So I was so happy that she agreed to share what she learned about motivation with the rest of you, because I think we could all use a little bit of that this year, right? So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Taylor.
Hello, I'm Taylor, obviously. So, yeah, my research paper I wrote, I named it Motivation is Key. So I'm just gonna read along. If anyone has questions after, let me know. Um, Motivation is the key to accomplishing our great journeys in life, whether it's to find love or get good grades, wanting to learn a new skill, or wanting to get in better shape. There are so many little things we can change in our daily lives that will help us focus on our goals. A lack of motivation affects everyone physically in a negative way, right? With that, what about our mental health? You would have to have such a powerful mindset in every little detail of life to be motivated about everything you want to accomplish, but that can be unrealistic. It is okay to be less motivated sometimes. Life is never supposed to be a walk in the park for us, but to use that as your starting point to become a better you. Well, that can be easy when you understand how. There are so many things people want to accomplish in their lives, but having the motivation to always begin isn't always so easy to find. It's easier to give up on something rather than learn the right ways to stay motivated. Research shows the small habits, physically and mentally, you can form to keep yourself motivated on the daily. Motivation isn't a personality trait, it's a habit. And habits are supposed to be formed naturally instead of forced. If you force a habit into your life, you simply won't keep the motivation to follow through with it. When finding your motivation, you might think you have to do this alone because it is your habit or goal that needs to be formed. That isn't entirely true. The people you keep close to you impact your daily thoughts and habits more than you already know. Nobody truly knows you better than you know yourself. You know the small setbacks you can hit that will ruin the rest of your motivation on a goal. Needing to take care of yourself physically and mentally will make it easier when finding your motivation. That is finding your self motivation for you to start new habits and achievements. Every day, we should be aiming to be the best version of ourselves. Although we could have some bad days, trying to stay positive and keeping the healthy habits you form can change the world for you. Being open to learning new steps and knowledge to stay motivated or positive is the first step. Let's say, for example, you want to lose weight. By exercising and eating better, you know you can accomplish that goal, but you constantly find yourself having movie nights with a friend, eating all sorts of junk food. That is a habit that, although it might be fun and relaxing for you during your time off, it sets your motivation back a little every time you want to wake up the next morning to start with your workout or diet routine planned. There really isn't any motivation there that will help you achieve your goal body until you make the changes. Instead of looking forward to movie nights eating, you switch to looking for going on a long walk with your friend and being productive that way. You'd notice how easy it was to stay on track and getting in better shape. It isn't until you make this small change in one daily activity that you realize your habit of working out takes over the habit of binge watching TV and eating. Is knowing you want to be self motivated a part of life that comes and goes through your mind weekly or even daily? There are always those few tasks we wish to accomplish each day or week that will give us a sense of calmness, but to keep going with it isn't always the easy part. The article, How to Be Self Motivated, was written by Sydney Axelrod on self motivation. Being self motivated means being ready for driven, focused discussion and behavior. It also means being sharp and smart enough to not be manipulated and to be open to positive learning. She gives us advice to stay in tune with yourself and keep your motivation alive. Being prepared mentally and physically to accomplish a task goes a long way. Getting into the mindset to have self motivation follows with being positive, confident, and hungry for your achievements. Your failures and setbacks, well, your failures Failures or setbacks have nothing to do with you and everything to do with being human. For your own mental stability, it's a smart thing to realize that setbacks can happen along the way. Knowing from an experience is something as small as wanting to procrastinate on homework. When life doesn't go as planned and messes with your schedule, it can affect my mood very much, and goals leaving myself leaving myself to give up on that goal. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Another part of the source explains how when goals are so futuristic and time consuming, it is hard to keep it all together. So take things slowly. It's hard to stay motivated on anything long term, but if the goal keeps changing, if your knowledge keeps morphing, it'll be easier. Telling us to telling us to always keep learning is part of staying on track with your self motivation. Think of a children's mind. It is always a good thing to keep learning and broaden our minds, everything that life has to offer. With all these small changes to your life that can keep you motivated in a way you weren't so strong with before. Keeping motivators and good company around you will always make it easier with wanting to achieve any goal. These types of people want to these types of people will teach you things you maybe didn't know before, offer you help, and even take it in when you want to reciprocate the help for them. Setting larger goals follows after, but staying positive with yourself and only comparing yourself to you. Only you know what you can truly accomplish to keep your motivation in yourself going. Axelrod strongly advises how we are all the same in a way. I believe how you handle and process your setbacks is how you can access control of the uncontrollable in your own life. Overcoming procrastination is a key part of staying motivated and reaching a goal. Isn't it easier to procrastinate something than just getting it done? Talking about procrastination, Sheila Globus writes the article Mastering Motivation, explaining the reassurance in oneself to stay motivated. She mentions Sue Patchen, who is a social worker at Harvard Vanguard Medical Associates in Boston. Patchen explains motivation is a habit. What most teens are missing are the skills that come with practice. When you have the reassurance to accomplish something, it makes doing the task a little easier, and knowing the way accomplishing a goal feels, there's some type of physical reward that follows. Motivation should be rewarded from within oneself because that now will be your motivation for your next step, keeping you from procrastinating. Motivation is like making a promise and keeping it. Between promising to stay on top of a goal and how you treat yourself factors into your motivation tremendously. So, negative talk is the main reason for procrastination. Let's say with studying for a test, instead of saying this is the last thing I want to do today, change that to doing this now will help me get a better grade. That slight change in how you look at your steps to reach your goal will make the biggest change in the end. If you don't succeed at first, it can whittle away at your self-confidence and your energy, but you can't let that stop you. It's a growing and learning process for having motivation. So when something goes wrong, you can see what needs to be changed to do things differently the next time. When you see yourself reaching these small goals, it's not only boosts someone's self-confidence, but it gives a sense of satisfaction or fulfillment to the mind and soul. This is making it easier to want to set other goals for your future. There are three questions one should ask themselves when wanting to keep their motivation alive. What do you need to do to stay on track? What barriers do you have to overcome? And where do you start? It's not a bad thing to ask for help either, because everything you want to achieve might not be achievable for you to do alone. It's never too late to find your motivation to achieve a goal, and it's never too late to set a goal either. Sheila Globus, in her article, values the facts given by Sue Patchen because being motivated for anything is fueled by success or even having some fun. It is easier to stay motivated on a goal if it's already something you enjoy doing, isn't it? Talking about Sue Patchen, she stresses the importance of setting priorities and caring for yourself by getting enough sleep and eating right. So, if motivation is a habit, then it's going to take time. Nobody ever says that reaching a goal will be easy, but let the path to succeed in it be natural. The simple words could and should play a huge role in motivating the mind. A short article, If I Could, I Surely Would, written by Ruth Ostrow, shows how the way we talk to ourselves impacts our motivation so much. Ostrow writes about how she attended a motivational lecture where she learned the difference just two words could make in someone's life. Two little letters are the difference between frustration and happiness. Could is more flexible and opens the door to opportunity rather than chastisement. It's an invitation to ourselves. This shows how the impact of one word can change the outlook on what we need to accomplish. This gives off a sense of feeling more capable of change than putting yourself down on what you should be doing. Ruth tells us about a form of therapy founded by US psychiatrist Eric Byrne is called transactional analysis. Claims that humans have several different personas. At various times, we hear the voices of the inner parent, adult, or child in our heads. We can be a nurturing parent or a critical parent to ourselves, a happy child or a rebellious, childish one. Depending on a situation or a decision that needs to be made, we usually talk it through with ourselves first, but how we handle it, where our inner adult or child plays the role. How your inner adult talks or encourages your inner child thoughts is how your childish side reacts and if it motivates us in a different way. To be aware of that challenges someone to see themselves starting a habit differently than before. Ruth also Ruth Oshriel also shares that a US psychologist, Albert Ellis, created rational emotive behavior therapy, which helps fight against using words to reinforce our negative behavior. This brings up how difficulties or failed attempts aren't what truly makes people sad or put down. You might think that sounds crazy, but when something doesn't go right, it hurts us, but it makes sense. They get upset by what they've made that adversity mean in their minds through the use of negative language and flawed beliefs. To be more mindful of our own feelings when talking to yourself with the key words could and should will help motivate us more. Changing how we self talk when things go wrong, try to say, I could change this so this won't happen again, gives off the mindset of reaching a goal and not wanting to let you give up. This article creates a more open minded outlook on how someone should want to talk to their self when trying to be motivating. To be more conscious of it all is just another step that will help gain control of your in the works habit. By reconstructing how we think and how we self talk, we can reframe our experiences. The point is to become inspired, not self defeating. What a difference an SH can make to a successful outcome. Subconsciously, the slightest change in the way we talk to ourselves, let alone other people, can be much more motivating to goals. The nature one has to push things aside or wait something out is always easier than going after a full goal. Needing the motivation for anything is how we can accomplish great things. Between learning the steps not to procrastinate and changing how we talk to ourselves in a kinder way, already helps fulfill our mindset to have the motivation we need. Achieving tasks in a smaller way will calm us. It will create a way of believing in ourselves. That follows with how we could work for our next habit that will help achieve our main goal. Making motivational habits will always seem hard at first and draw us away from achieving something, but those habits are the only way we can accomplish our great journeys in life. So, as research has shown, with the small habits you can form physically and mentally, staying motivated on the daily will come naturally once you put your mind to it. This is to help find those changes that need to be made so you can find your motivation.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a lot to take in, but I
Yeah,
did.
it's
Yeah. But I mean, I hope everybody comes away with like the highlights about, small steps, surrounding yourself with positive people. I love that part at the end about changing the should to could, and how it can make all the difference in the world in your mental, frame to stay motivated. So would anybody like to ask any other questions or comment on certain parts of the presentation? Or you are one of the most motivated people I know. So
thank you.
yeah, self-compassion can be practiced alongside discipline, right? Have we all learned that this year, right?
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of self-discipline and also some self-compassion. It's a really important, we're very hard on ourselves. I know our students, a lot of the times I hear a lot of, oh, I can't do this, or I've got so much to do. And if you break it down into smaller parts and, reward yourself and talk nicely to yourself, then sometimes it's a lot easier to create that habit.
Yeah. I found it going into even the smallest, trying to do something even as talking to a computer screen full of people.
You
The
did
smallest
really
thing
well.
kind of
It's
thing,
not
it all helps.
easy. Now you know how I feel all the time. You have a question, Marcia?
Okay, I think I'm unmuted, am I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not so much a question, it's just a response. I wanted to say also that it was a great presentation and I was actually taking notes. So I want to reinforce what was said. Also, so I wrote down, could is an invitation to yourself. I thought that was great. And then I also love that what a difference an SH makes. That was really, really good. And then I was giggling to myself when you got to the part about the voices that we speak to ourselves as parents. And I was laughing because I am a parent. And so I had the juxtaposition of thinking of what my kids are thinking with maybe my voice in their head and then what I have in my head. So just really, really great presentation. And it inspired me. It made me think further. I think I would like to inspire you to say that there's a lot here. And I hope that the subject matter was interesting enough that you'd like to pursue it further because it just I think there's a lot more to say. And you when you were presenting it, I felt like it was very personal.
Mhm.
So so I encourage you to maybe lengthen the presentation and find other places where you can
Yeah.
offer it. It was really, really great.
Yeah, you can help a
Thank
lot of
you.
people with that information, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, of
Mhm.
all ages and
I know, and
all
motivation
persuasions.
alone in everything, it can be something as trying new foods. So then to
Right.
find, I was finding so many articles so broad on things. So to narrow it down kind of to like a self motivation was probably the easiest out of because there's motivational things on evering. There's so
Right,
much to
absolutely.
read through.
Absolutely. It affects everything we do. So, so I just wanted to reinforce what's been already said. That it was a really great presentation. So
Thank
I'm
you.
hoping it's the start of something for you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, quick comment. Can you repeat the 3 steps of motivation again?
The 3 steps
The
of
questions
motivation.
you ask yourself, is that what you're talking about?
Um,
Yeah,
uh,
I think I was very interested as to what it meant. But I think it ended with where to start.
Oh, right, yeah.
yeah, so the three main questions that I found in a lot of articles that like wanted you to get more in tune with yourself when trying to find your motivation. The questions were what do you need to do to stay on track? What barriers do you have to overcome? And where do I start? And finding that you can start things way easier when you break them down very detailed. I found a lot of other articles that too that they have the 2-minute rule, a 1-minute rule. If you can get something in and even just 1 or 2 minutes a day, that's already creating that habit naturally to want to do that every day instead of forcing it kind of thing.
I think it was interesting how you said too, one of the main things is like think about children. Like we don't expect a child to take their first step and then just like walk casually across the room. Like we embed that in our treatment of children. Like they learn a little bit at a time and we don't punish them for making a mistake. So why do we punish ourselves? Why does society, like why has education become a series of tests that we fail instead of just markers on where we are at the time, right? Like education really needs to change at this point, right? So if you think about this personally, like why would you beat yourself up for not getting something right the first time? Or,
Mhm.
why would you give yourself a monumental task to do that you wouldn't give to a child learning something new for the first time? So our whole lives are spent learning something new for the first time. I mean, if you're truly alive, like we don't just stagnate once we graduate college, we continue to learn. So if I beat myself up every time I didn't get something the first time I read it through, then I would probably just spend most of the day in bed. So it's, I mean, like let's not be childish about things, but let's treat ourselves with the same respect we would treat a child. Like let's just say, okay, I'm gonna fail at this probably a few times before I actually get it.
My
And
my favorite phrase for that for kids is practice makes perfect.
right, exactly. Exactly. We really have to reframe the way we think about success, the way we think about achievement, right? We have to reframe how we talk to ourselves, like you said, like we have to, you know, like, what do I want to achieve, but what are the barriers to get there? And where do I just start to achieve that one little barrier? Like, how do I get over that one hurdle and then tackle the rest of them? It's a race, you know, it's a long marathon, not a sprint in life. So we have to stay motivated. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I'll read the comment here. I love your idea of learning to parent ourselves with greater compassion and encouragement. Right. Thank you again.
Well, thank you guys for all listening.
I think that's all the time we have, but thank you everyone for coming. And Taylor, thank you for presenting for us.
Thank
And
you.
I hope that you'll keep in touch with me and let me know all the fabulous things that you're doing.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thanks, everyone.